All right. Thank you. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our usual Sunday program. This is your host, Pastor Thomas, and it is my pleasure to have you once more on Shana TV and Radio Bulamasti today. If you are just connecting or just know that this is our usual Sunday program. Before I pursue whatever I have to present to you tonight, I just wish to let you know that this program is not intended or directed towards a specific person. It is for the sole purpose of education and information. So do not take it personal. If there are any resemblance or any similarity with any person, it will just be by mere coincidence. So I would like to set the stage, and tonight we are going to talk about leadership. We're going to talk about leadership, and we know that this is a very important word, and even in most of our institutions of learning and universities, there are programs that are offered about leadership. So tonight we are going to see what leadership is all about, leadership at all level, whether at the national level, whether at the municipal level or at the community level or even at the family level. So what is leadership and what should we expect from that? So we will have an insight into King David's leadership, and one of the most wonderful leaders that ever existed under the sun. And we are going to learn from his leadership how a leader is supposed to lead the people that have been entrusted to him. And the first thing with leadership is to recognize that God placed you in that position to lead his people, not for your personal gratification. And just like I was saying, we have different levels and different layers and strata of leadership. We have leadership at the family level, leadership at the community level, leadership even at the nationwide level. So let's talk about the two main pillars of leadership, and we are going to dig into the life of the man I announced earlier, King David, a man of exceptional leadership, and we are going to learn from his leadership what is expected of all of us leaders today. You might be a leader of a group of just 5. Another person might be a leader of a group of 10 or 20 or 50 or 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 and infinity. So it doesn't matter. The number of people doesn't matter. What matters is the kind of spirit that you carry and the kind of insight that you bring with you. So in Romans 13:1, it is said that let every person be subject to the governing authority. And that is why we are all called upon to honor our leaders, because there is no authority except from God. There is no authority that exists except they were granted permission to exist by the Almighty. And those which exist have been put in place by the Most High God. So we believe that we have to honor our leaders. We have to hail them. We have to give them the honor that is due their position, because as it is usually said, honor to whom honor is due. So you leaders, you need to recognize that there is no leader that rules except by God's permission. Once you have this understanding of what leadership is, I think leadership becomes something which is very delightful. One major thing that is expected of leadership is humility. Humility is greatly expected because, as it is written in Proverbs 3:5-6, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your step. Now, I want to pause here, and I want us to dig a little bit into what we have just said, because it seems to me that this scripture is loaded with deep truth, deep insight we can learn all from. Lean not on your own understanding, but trust in the Lord with all your heart, and in all your ways acknowledge Him. Does that sound like what some of us do today, what some of us leaders do today, whether at the family level or the community level? Do we very often lean on our own understanding, or do we lean on the Most High King who owns all wisdom and all understanding? One thing we need to know is, as leaders, we don't have the big picture. We only have glimpses of what is happening around, but we don't have the big picture. Sometimes we don't know what will happen 1 year or 2 years or 5 years or 10 years down the road. We only can lead with the knowledge that we have, or with the multitude of counselors that surround us. But beyond that multitude of counselors, there is a greater counselor. And remember, it is said that he shall be called Almighty, Wonderful Counselor, and government shall be upon his shoulders. I'm talking of the Most One, the Most High God. And we need to understand that we need to surrender our wisdom to one that is wiser than we are. We need to surrender our knowledge to one that is more knowledgeable than we are. We need to surrender our understanding to one that has a greater understanding, a far superior understanding, because his ways are not our ways, and our ways shall never be his ways. The ways of the Most High do not often intersect with the ways of us mortal human beings, because we only see in part, we only know in part, we understand in part, but he who has the big picture understands it all. So that is why humility is expected of every leader. When things are not going well, when things are not going the right way, what do you do as a leader? Do you lean on your own understanding, or do you do things your own way? Are you the kind of leader who says, either it goes my way or the highway? It can't be otherwise. Are you that kind of leader, or are you the kind of leader who submits to a higher wisdom, to a higher design, to a higher authority, and comes humbly at his feet and say, this situation is something which is beyond my understanding. I need your help. Are you the kind of leaders who surrenders to the wisdom of a great counselor? Are you the kind of leaders who allows others people to bring insight into your leadership? Or you are the kind of leader who thinks that they know it all, they figure it out all, or they understand it all? You alone can answer this type of question. But as for me, I feel that the best way is to go the way of the scripture. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. In other way round, he will show you the way out. In other way round, he will show you the way forward. Today, at all levels, we have leaders who lean on their own understanding, as I said earlier. They lean on their wisdom, and they think that their human brain is enough to provide the solution to that problem that is very difficult of solving. But we need to know, we leaders, especially in this time in history, where we are faced with all kinds of challenges, where we are faced with all kinds of crises, where we are faced with all kinds of barriers and red tapes and even impossibilities. How do we go about it? How do we approach those challenges? Do we lean on our own understanding? Or do we seek a higher understanding from the one who understands it all? So, leadership is humility. Humility is, in my own sense, the first ingredient to every leadership, because we can learn from anybody. We can learn from one that is way smaller than we think they are. We can learn even from little children. We can learn from the beggar in the street. We can learn from the homeless in the street. We can learn from a variety of sources. Where do you draw your wisdom? Where do you draw your counsel? Only you can answer this question. But I know, dear listeners, that you can identify with what I am saying, especially if you are one that is in a leadership position. It doesn't matter what gender you are. You might be a male or a female. Today, it doesn't matter. Leadership comes to us all, both male, both female, both great and small. Leadership is something which should be handled with care, because you need to acknowledge and to understand that you were placed or you were put in that leadership position by the Almighty, not for your personal gain or for your personal gratification, but for the sake of the people that he has entrusted to you. And that is why you need to keep that accountability, because a day will come you will be accountable to the Most High for the people that he had entrusted to you. Did you lead them the right way, or did you lead them the wrong way? Did you lead them in a way that was in accordance to the will of the Most High, or did you lead them in a way that was just the way of destruction? So we need to not just be humble, we need to keep that accountability and to know that as leaders, we are servants. As leaders, we are ministers. The word ministers comes from a Latin word, ministra, which means servant. So you are a servant. We in leadership position are called to serve others, and we need to serve them wholeheartedly. We need to serve them with our highest devotion. We need to serve them in a way that will bring glory and honor, not to us, but to the one who entrusted those people to our leadership. So God raised David. I was talking about David, a man of great leadership, not because he was the greatest leader, but because his leadership had certain traits that are very uncommon to most leaders. God raised him up to be the leader of his people. And David was human and not perfect. There is nobody who is perfect. He made mistakes, but the more he made mistakes, the more he leaned on God, the more he learned to rely on God. He knew that he had no wisdom on his own, and we all know the story of Solomon, to whom the Most High appeared and asked him to request anything from him. And the only thing he found or he deemed good to ask was wisdom. And his request was very pleasant in the eyes of God. It pleased the Most High to give him that wisdom, because the wisdom he asked for was not for his personal ambition, but it was to lead his people. And he knew that as a very young person, he would not be able to do well without the assistance of the Most High God. So he asked for wisdom, and he was granted wisdom. And that is why the scripture says, is there anyone who lacks wisdom? James 1:5, let them ask God, who will give graciously, bountifully. And these are the things the Most High delights on. And these are things that leaders should pursue earnestly, without fainting, because it is much needed, especially in a time like this when the world is facing many crises and challenges. So, as I was saying, only the Almighty has the big picture, and David's humility was deeply rooted in his relationship with God, and the depth of that relationship is shown in the Psalms that he had written and the several inquiries that he made of the Lord. 7 times, I say it, 7 times, David inquired of the Lord. The first time it was in 1 Samuel 23:2, when he said, therefore, David inquired of the Lord, saying, shall I go and smite these Philistines? And the Lord said unto David, go and smite the Philistine and save Keilah. And the second time he inquired of the Lord was in 1 Samuel 23:4. Then David inquired of the Lord yet again. And the Lord answered him and said, arise, go down to Keilah, for I will deliver the Philistine. The Lord answered him, arise, go and deliver them, for I am with you. And the third time was in 1 Samuel 30:8. And David inquired at the Lord, saying, shall I pursue after this troop? Shall I overtake them? And the Lord answered them. He said, pursue, for thou shalt surely overtake, and you will not only overtake, but you will recover everything that was stolen from you. Wow. This is a man who was a great king, but he never took a decision without inquiring of the Lord. He never did anything by his own wisdom, even though he could have said, I am stronger than the Philistine, my army is way mightier than the Philistines' army, but he took the elementary precaution of inquiring of the Lord, because he wanted to know what the great shepherd was thinking. He was placed as a shepherd to shepherd the people, the flock of God, but he knew that he was just a shepherd under a greater shepherd. And that is why it mattered to him to consult the great shepherd before taking any decision, however small the decision would be. And this is a big example that we leaders today are called upon to emulate. We need to know what the Most High is thinking about the situation. We need to know what is pleasant to him. We need to know what is his supreme or paramount will regarding X or Y situation. Okay, so I would like to let you know once more that if you are just joining us, we are on Radio Bulamasti and Shana TV. We will be back after this commercial. I hope you are enjoying the program. Feel free to drop a comment on our comment section. Feel free to even share your mind with us. Thank you.
In a world of technology, the future is online. Tune in to www.radiobulamasi.com. radiobulamasi.com.
Shivan's Authentic Spice and Snack, जो लोकेटेड है 9480 128th Street, साइट। यहाँ पर आपको मिलेगी फ्रिजी की सभी फ्रोजन प्रोडक्ट्स जैसे कि दरोका, कटर, कसेरा, मिर्चा, दाल, बेरे की भाजी, और साथ साथ में फ्रोजन लैम्ब, फिश, चिकन और श्रिम्प भी। साथ साथ में सभी की फेवरेट क्रीम बन। और दोस्तों इनकी स्टॉक बहुत जल्द खलास हो जाती है, सो जल्दी जाइए शिवल्स ऑथेंटिक स्पाइस एंड स्नैक्स। इनकी शॉपिंग आवर्स है फ्राइडे, सैटरडे और संडे शाम 5 बजे से लेकर रात 9 बजे तक। ये भी बता दें आप सभी को दोस्तों, इनकी रेस्टोरेंट की एक बहुत ही बेहतरीन ग्रैंड ओपनिंग भी होने जा रही है। और जानकारी के लिए संपर्क कीजिए शिवम को 778-707-4937 पर 778-707-4937 पर।
अगर आप अपना गाड़ी साफ कराना चाहते हैं तो जाइए वीके ऑटो डिटेलिंग लोअर मेनलैंड BC। वो स्पेशलाइज करते हैं एक्सटीरियर वॉश एंड ड्राई, वैक्यूम सीट्स एंड शैम्पू, क्लॉथ और लेदर, वैक्यूम एंड शैम्पू फ्लोर, कार्पेट एंड मैट्स, डिटेल एंड कंडीशन डोर पैनल्स, जैम्स, डैशबोर्ड्स, कंसोल्स एंड कंपार्टमेंट्स। तो कंसल्ट करिए विनीता रेड्डी को 604-300-5095, बॉबी एंडी को 604-300-7204।
Hello, this is Mandeep with Bula Kava Distributors. We import fresh kava from Fiji to Canada and distribute it to your doorstep anywhere in the world, Canada, internationally. From 112 gram bags, 224 gram bags to 448 gram bags, and new merchandise coming as well too. Tanawas, Sulus, Billows, everything Fiji. For all your fresh kava needs, visit bulakava.ca. bulakava.ca.
क्या आप घर खरीदना या बेचना चाहते हैं या जानना चाहते हैं कि ये सही समय है घर खरीदना या बेचना? इसके लिए आप सिटी टू सिटी रियल्टर प्रणीता चंद को कॉल कर सकते हैं। फोन 778-872-4708 पर। कस्टमर कर्टेसी के लिए प्रणीता चंद आपके लीगल फीस भी पे करेगी। फॉर ट्रस्टेड नेम इन बाइंग एंड सेलिंग योर प्रॉपर्टी, कॉल प्रणीता चंद, टॉप रियल्टर विद एक्सपीरियंस। Phone 778-872-4708. Yes, get up and go. और आपको कहाँ पर जाना है? Niche Crystals and Amazing Jewelry में Certified Dealer of Precious and Semi-Precious Gemstones. Healing के लिए या तो decoration के लिए। अगर आपको gemstones चाहिए, crystal rocks चाहिए, check out the website www.nishca.com. McNish नारायण को कॉल कर सकते हैं at 604-788-0807 पर।
और जब घर में खाना बनाना है तो सोचते हैं कि यार आज क्या पकवान हम बनाएं, क्या पके आज घर में। तो अगर आपको फ्रेश लाइव चिकन, डक, रोस्टर चाहिए तो एक ही नाम याद रखिए, मेपल रिज में है एक बहुत ही बढ़िया साफ सुथरा फार्म। और तो और इसके साथ साथ में $5 में, सिर्फ $5 में आपको मिलेगा लार्ज ब्राउन चिकन एग्स, सिर्फ $5 में। ऑर्गेनिक है। कॉल कर सकते हैं 604-837-8874 पर, 604-837-8874 पर। और फार्म का लोकेशन है 11645 243rd स्ट्रीट मेपल रिज में। आप जरूर कॉल कीजिए 604-837-8874 पर।
Thinking about traveling but not sure where to go and what to do? Looking for the best travel deals? Contact the travel people at Sohi Vacations. Phone 604-503-0440. Doesn't matter where you are in the world, you can trust and book your trip through SohiVacations.com. With 37 years of experience, you'll get the best deals with the best customer service. Call now 604-503-0440. Sohi Vacations, your travel people. SohiVacations.com.
In a world of technology, the future is online. Tune in to www.radiobulamasi.com. radiobulamasi.com.
और वो कैसे?
निश क्रिस्टल एंड अमेजिंग ज्वेलरी में।
यहाँ पर क्यों?
क्योंकि वहाँ पर आपको ऐसी ज्वेलरीज, जेमस्टोन्स और क्रिस्टल्स मिलेंगे जो आपकी किस्मत चमका देगी।
ये हुई ना बात।
पॉजिटिव एनर्जी, अबंडेंस, बेटर हेल्थ और फास्ट हीलिंग जेमस्टोन्स और क्रिस्टल्स के लिए अब सरी में ही।
देर किस बात की है, चलो अभी चलते हैं।
निश क्रिस्टल एंड अमेजिंग ज्वेलरी 12070 एवेन्यू सरी। फोन नंबर 604-788-0807।
वेबसाइट विजिट कीजिए nishca.com. Niche Crystals and Amazing Jewelry.
Hello, dear listeners, and televiewers. Once more, you are welcome to our program, Sunday Show with Pastor Thomas. You are on Radio Bulamasti and Shana TV, and that is the right thing to do. You are just at the right place and at the right time. Today, we are talking about leadership, leadership at all levels, at the family level, at the community level, and even at the national level. And again, I want to just let you know that this program is not directed or intended towards any specific person. Any similarity with anybody in true life is a product of mere coincidence. So tonight I have been talking about leadership. I said it earlier, and we have defined leadership, and we have define what are the ingredients that are expected, what are the qualities that are expected from a leader. And we are currently having an insight into the life of King David, a man of exceptional leadership, not because he was flawless, not because he was perfect, but because he knew that leadership was given to him by a greater leader, not for his own benefit, but for the edification of the people that were entrusted to him. And we know that 7 times and even 9 times, David inquired of the Lord when he was faced with serious crisis, when he was faced with serious challenges and mountains that seemed unsurmountable, but he remembered that he cannot trust on his own understanding or on his own wisdom, but that he needs to submit to one that is wiser than he was. And so he inquired of the Lord multiple times, and we had been digging into that. And this 5th inquiry of King David was in 2 Samuel 5:19, and it reads, "And David inquired of the Lord, saying, Shall I go up to the Philistines? Wilt thou deliver them into my hands? And the Lord said unto David, Go up, for I will doubtless deliver the Philistines into thy hands." And the 6th time, when David inquired of the Lord, he said, Thou shalt not go up. Now, this is interesting because the answer he got this time was completely different from the previous answer, or the answer he got the previous day. He would have just said, well, yesterday it was God's pleasant will that I pursue the Philistine. But he took the elementary precaution to inquire of the Lord again and again and again. And this time around, the instructions were way different from the previous times. And he said, Thou shalt not go up, but fetch a compass behind them, and come upon them over against the mulberry trees. Wow, that is really, really amazing. How many times have we deceived ourselves into thinking that the way it worked yesterday, it would be the same way it will work today? How many times have we deceived ourselves? How many times have we been naive into thinking that the way the mighty one did it last year, he is going to do the same? His ways are definitely not our ways, and his thoughts are not our thoughts. They keep changing, they keep evolving, they keep transforming, such that no one can boast of having a full grasp of his perfect will at a given moment or in a given situation. And that is why we should always be humble enough to surrender our will to his will. Now, we want to talk about the last time David inquired, because to me, this is an eye-opener. This is something which shed so much light. It sheds so much light into what true leadership should be today. Now, the last time David inquired of the Lord was in 1 Samuel chapter I think it was First Samuel, chapter 13, I feel, chapter 20. Now, there was a famine in the days of David. For 3 years, 3 solid years, there was a famine. There was a drought, and the famine was so severe that there was nothing to eat. And David, after 3 years of enduring this situation with the people, inquired of the Lord. And he asked the Lord, why are we undergoing this crisis? Why are we undergoing this situation? What is wrong? What is the matter? And the Lord answered and said, it is because of Saul and his bloodthirsty house, because he killed the Gibeonites. Wow. This was a revelation to David. And this brought so much understanding to the crisis that was going on. Why was there such a large-scale famine? Because the previous king had done atrocity that incurred heaven's wrath on the people. And he said, because of Saul and his bloodthirsty house, he killed the Gibeonite. Now, someone may not have a full understanding of this unless they know the story of the Gibeonite. Many centuries before Saul came into power, even before David came into power, the Gibeonite had concluded an alliance, a covenant with the children of Israel. And what was that covenant? That covenant was enacted in the times of Joshua, who was the leader at the moment. And the covenant was that at no point in time the Israelite should strike the Gibeonite. And that covenant was ratified. But Saul was oblivious, apparently he was oblivious of that covenant that was ratified between Joshua and the leaders of the Gibeonites. And he brought guilt, he brought calamity on the people of Israel. And even though he was no more the ruling king at that time because he was gone, the wrath of God, the anger of God came upon Israel, and the people had to suffer this in one way or the other. 3 solid years of famine, of having nothing to eat. And David did so well when he finally decided to inquire of the Lord and to understand why the people of the Most High were going through such a tough time. This is a message to all of us leaders today. If only we would be humble, like King David, to go to the Lord and to inquire of him about the things that are happening in our community, about the things that are happening in our nation, about the things that are happening in our family, or about the things that are happening in our city. I am very sure that the Lord is going to reveal to us the root cause of all these calamities. And not only is he going to reveal to us the root cause, but he is going to show us the way out. He is going to show us the way forward. He is going to turn that mountain into a plain or a valley. And that is exactly what he did with David after he revealed what was the root cause of the famine. He went ahead and told David what he should do in order to remedy the situation. If it was today, we would have just said it's a natural disaster, or it's a natural thing, or we would have brought a scientific explanation to that, because we are so much prone to rationalizing everything that comes our way. But there are things that we can't rationalize. There are things that are deeply seated in the past. There are things that are deeply seated into the story and the history of our nation, or the history of our community, or the history of our family. And some of those things elude our understanding. Some of those things elude our wisdom. And we can only go to the one who understands it all to have an explanation and to have a solution. And what a beautiful example. What a beautiful answer David brought. What a beautiful lesson. What a beautiful teaching David is teaching to us today, leaders of this time. And we know that in Genesis 12, 5 to 10, there was a famine, just like in the days of David, but many centuries before that, in the days of Abraham, there was this famine in Canaan. And we know that even without consulting God, Abraham just moved to Egypt, where he fell into trouble. And it's important. It is very, very important, ladies and gentlemen, to learn how to inquire of the Lord. Now, I know some of us inquire from different sources. We inquire from different people or from different media. But only if we could learn to inquire of the Lord, how great, how wonderful the situation would be. There was a leader who committed a big mistake, and the people paid dearly for his mistake. And we know that that leader was called Joshua. And the famine I just described was closely linked to the mistake that Joshua committed with the Gibeonites, because Joshua received firm instructions from the Lord to not have a covenant with the nations that were in Canaan and the neighborhood. But Joshua fell into the trap of one of those nations, the Gibeonites. The Gibeonites knew that they could not resist the power of Joshua and his armed forces, because they had heard of what they had done to other nations and other kings, and they knew that they could not resist pound for pound. So they resorted to cunning tricks in order to ensnare and trap Joshua. They went and disguised, and they came with very ramshackle attire, rags, and old stuff, and they pretended that they were travelers that were coming from a very far away country. After so many weeks and even months of journey, they came to Joshua and they deceived Joshua into striking a peace covenant with them. But these were the people that Joshua was supposed to destroy according to the instruction that the Lord gave to him. But instead of inquiring of the Lord, what did Joshua do? He just went ahead and signed a peace treaty with the Gibeonites. And after the peace treaty was signed and ratified, the Lord appeared to Joshua and he asked him, "What have you done, Joshua? What you did is very wrong. You should have inquired of me. But because you failed to do that, this Gibeonite will be a snare to you and to the people for generations and generations." And indeed they were, because it went on and on and on and on even in the days of Saul and in the days of David. So, because Joshua failed to inquire of the Lord, he incurred the wrath of God, or better still, the consequences of his not inquiring of the Lord had far-reaching consequences on the unborn generations of the Israelites that were supposed to enjoy a peaceful land where honey and milk flowed, but it was the opposite that happened. So that tells us that any mistake from you, the leader, can have deep consequences on the people. Any mistake, however small it might be, can have long-lasting effects on the unborn generation. And that is why we cannot lean on our understanding. That is why we can't lean on our wisdom. We need to inquire of the one who knows both the past, the present, and the future. That is the only way we will lead the people to the way of salvation. Do we lean on our wisdom? Do we lean on our technologies? Do we lean on our scientific equipments? All these things will fail us. Oh yes, they will fail us. Only those who put their trust in the Lord shall never be put to shame, says the scripture in Romans chapter 10, verse 11. We should learn to put our trust in the Lord, not in the material things, not in technology, not even in our money, not even in our degrees and PhDs and doctorates. We should learn to inquire of the one who is the solution to it all. This is true humility, and this is true leadership, to acknowledge that there is a greater leader who is the Most High God. So in conclusion, I just want to say that, as the scripture says, the glory of God is to conceal things. The glory of the Most High is to hide the deep things of the spirit, the deep things of this life. And the glory of man is to discover them. But you can't discover what God has hidden unless you humble yourself before him. For the scriptures say that the secrets of the Lord belong to those that fear him. The secrets of the Lord belong to those that fear him. There are things that you can never know with human wisdom alone. There are things that you can never understand with science alone, because there are things that go beyond science. I love science and I have great respect for men of science, but science has its own limitation. Everything has its own limitation. Everything has a time under the sun. Everything is limited in scope. Everything is limited in time. Everything is limited in wisdom. Everything and everybody is limited in understanding. There are things that you can't understand with your human brain because you are a finite being. And the finite being cannot understand the infinite being unless the infinite one grants him that blessing, that opportunity to understand him. So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know for whom this message was intended today, but if you have listened to this program, please comment. Let me know your feedback. We love to have feedbacks from our listeners. And if you are a leader, know that the number one ingredient of leadership is humility. Know that God has entrusted the people you are leading to you, not for you to crush them, not for you to mislead them, but for you to show them the way to life, for you to show them the way to salvation. And when it is time to take critical decision, you cannot afford to be flippant or flimsy. You need to inquire of the Lord, and He will show you the way out. And I'm talking to the leaders of the nations. I'm talking to the leaders of our communities. I'm talking to the leaders of our congregations. I'm talking to the leaders of families. Inquire of the Lord in everything, and He shall show you the way out. God bless you.